Welcome back to Life Gloss. We have the most special guest with us today. I want everyone to welcome Adele Uddo, and we will be talking a little bit about her product today, Essential by Adele. I want to tell you a little bit about how Adele and I met. It was very special. We met on a photo shoot because Adele is a body parts model. You heard that right. Talk about being objectified as a woman. You get hired for your hands or your neck or your décolleté or your face, and she has to keep all of those things looking good, feeling good, but also keeping her soul and her spirit feeling good, because as we all know, the modeling world can be really tough, and it's particularly hard on a body parts model. So without further ado, welcome to Life Gloss.
Thank you so much, Hillary. It's such a pleasure and an honor, really, to be here. So thank you so much for inviting me.
We're thrilled to have you. I don't know if you've been listening to our podcast or heard us, we've raved about your product for a while. Ever since Hillary put this in my hands and I put it on my hands, this has been the number one for my body parts. So no one's hiring me for my body parts these days. However, I have to tell you, they look better than ever. So we're going to get into some of this in a minute.
That coming
Thank
from both of you, truly, that means so much to me because when it comes from like beauty insiders and experts, it really touches my heart. So thank you very much.
Oh, you're so welcome. We love it. I'm so glad that Hillary turned me on to it. And should I tell my funny story? It's not
Tell your
really
story.
funny, but
Yeah.
it's not funny. It's cute. So I have two children, and my daughter is both my kids are highly sensory sensitive humans. And she really is hyper sensitive to smells, light, sound, all those things. It's part of her divergency. And so I put this on, and oftentimes she'll walk into the room and she'll say, Mom, too much, or this or that. And I think you'll agree, and I think all three of us can agree, we're trying so many different things and different types of perfumes and lotions and potions and whatnot. So I do get feedback from the teenagers. So when I received this from Hillary, and I was so excited because I put it on and I smelled it instantly. I was just personally captivated by the scent, because the first time I smelled it, I was like, I hope it works as good as it smells. Because I think we've all been bummed out. We've tried things and they are terrible or terrible for you, but they smell really good, or they smell bad, but they work great. The fact this was a win. So I walked out of the bathroom, I had it on, and I walked by my daughter, and she turned around and she said, What is that? And I paused to hear the get it off, it's terrible, blah, blah. And she said, Mom, that is so good. You smell like a like a heavenly spa. And I
Mm.
said, Oh my gosh. I said, Solange, I'm so glad you like it. She's like, Can I try? And never has that happened. And I'm really being honest. I'm not just saying this. It was the first time I've ever used a body product, especially body lotion, where she actually wanted it and then said, I told her we were going to have you on the podcast. And then she said, Can she make it into a perfume? I said, I'll ask her.
I have been asked that. First of all, that again it just means so much to me. I also consider myself a highly sensitive person, and I'm very sensitive to scents, and particularly artificial fragrances, which I wanted absolutely no part of in this product. And I spent a tremendous amount of time with the formulator trying to get the perfect subtle but natural, fresh, clean, heavenly spa-like scent like you're describing. And the scent comes strictly from the essential oils, frankincense, heliochrysum, geranium, and lavender. So not only does it smell quite lovely and gender neutral and really divine, it's really good for your skin. And your nervous system. It calms
Yeah.
the nervous system with the essential oils. Yeah, it reduces inflammation and regenerates healthy cells. So it's a win.
Yeah. And we're going to get into all the ingredients with you, because we have to pick your brain about the ingredients, because it doesn't just smell amazing, but the ingredients are incredible. We'll get into all of that. But yes, I have to tell you, it is so grounding. And I agree with you. It is so gender neutral. It really is. And we toss that term around so much now in the industry, but this is something that every human would definitely want to wear. And it's not overpowering. It's just and you're right, it's calming, like it's grounding.
A lot of people actually use it before they go to sleep. It helps them sleep. Yeah, and I love it when the men get hooked too. They some use it as a shave lotion, and yeah, so it's very multi-use, multi-purpose.
I put it in my hair, to tame my
Yeah,
ways. My mother swears that it has revolutionized her legs. My mom still
I
likes to wear
love her.
her above the knee skirts, and she's so fit and flirty and fun. And she called me because I gave subscriptions to my family members a few years ago, and there's a lot of eczema, a lot of psoriasis in on my mom's side of the family, and everyone that I gave it to, I've been the hero. So thank you. They all unanimously love it, and they have all talked about the healing properties. So
Yeah.
even on a delicate skin, and the
Mhm.
frankincense is all of a sudden everywhere this season.
Love
Everyone's
it.
talking about frankincense again, but it's been in your formula forever. And it is, yeah, it's again, I was the hero. So anybody that's listening that's looking for a really unique, interesting thing to give for the holidays, get your friends and family a subscription. And while we're talking about it, I just have to tell people she also does a mini. So I highly recommend this. And Adele, I have to tell you how much I appreciate that you didn't skimp on the mini, that this twists on and off. So it will lock in your purse
Oh,
and
that's
when you're
great.
flying and traveling. And it's easy to refill from this guy. I just really appreciate this so much. So thank you.
I so
And
appreciate you
was
spreading the lotion love, as I say. That is, I just, yeah, deeply appreciate that because so many of the biggest fans have come through gift giving. It is one
Mhm.
of those gifts that everybody feels special when, and you can, and it applies to all parts, all people. Yeah, I don't know if we want to mention right now, but I created a code for you all, the Life Gloss code for
Oh,
25% off. I only do this once a year. So yeah, because you all are so special to me, and I'm just honored to be here again. That yes, any of your listeners can use the code LifeGloss for 25% off, and it really does make a really beautiful gift.
well,
thank you. Gosh,
we'll put that in our show notes too, and I'll post that on our Instagram for our followers. That's super generous of you. I think it'll give everyone a chance to really try this exceptional product, and it really is exceptional. So take us from the beginning. How we know that you're a parts model, and I do want you to talk about that for a second, how you got into that, and tell us a little bit about that. But how did you transition from that into wanting to do something for the body? Because there's so much out there. Let's face it, we're inundated with body products.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I didn't really plan to be a body parts model, certainly. Didn't go to school for that or anything. But I had been told, particularly by my grandmother on my mother's side, all my life that I had these beautiful hands and didn't think much of it. And was doing some modeling at the time and was called by my agent and said, "We have this big casting for OPI nails. Do you have nice nails and hands?" And I thought, gee, my grandmother thinks so. So I went. And I remember really like immediately feeling like this different energy at the casting. Like they were like all of a sudden got excited and calling people in and passing my hands around the boardroom. And it was exciting. So I booked the job that day, called my grandmother on the way home and made a card from there and just started working. And my career really took off when I started working in New York. And for several years, I was just bi-coastal, just the main industry is in New York, the beauty and fashion. So that's when I really started working for like big brands like Dior and Revlon and Apple and some really incredible companies. Yeah, that's how I got into that. And early on, I realized my parts, particularly my hands, were being photographed in macro close up, like literally down to the cuticle. So when that happens, there really is no faking when you're in high definition.
Yeah.
So I really needed to up my skincare and have exceptional skincare. So I started testing different moisturizers and getting more educated. I'd come from a pretty natural background with growing up on a California commune sort of farm environment, very organic. We drank from a well. So I was familiar with natural skincare since I was quite young. But as I was testing these moisturizers, I was reading the labels of many of them that were really popular. And I was surprised that some of them were really expensive, yet ironically filled with these very cheap, kind of questionable filler ingredients, and didn't really make too much of a difference on my skin, didn't smell so great as we're talking about artificial fragrances. So I started just testing different, more natural products, started making my own in my kitchen, and really with my favorite ingredients. And my friends, I was testing them out on my friends started asking for more. And then I took it to a top formulator here in LA, and he really took the formula to the next level. And we worked together, and the lotion love child was born from there.
And what year did you launch? When did you launch?
2020, 2018.
Wow. Okay. So
Years
right
ago,
before.
hard to believe.
Yeah.
Flies, doesn't it? The time flies. And anybody that's been following us for a period of time, they know that we will talk about products here and there, the good, the bad, the ugly, but there's nothing that we have been so emphatic about and actually had someone on to talk about. So, yeah, just so our audience knows, we're so grateful for the code. Thank you for being so generous, but this is 100% a labor of love. This episode is coming not from any sort of sponsored post or anything like that. So anybody out there, just know that this is absolutely just because we've loved it and our families love it and we rely on it. And I was having a period of time when my immune system was going a little haywire and I'm still trying to figure out what's going on there, but I was getting funny rashes and I'm never a rashy person. And this was one of the only things that would really heal. They were giving me all the prescriptions and all the different creams and salves to put on, which I'm like, hey, if you need it, I'll do it. But this was really soothing. And I have even used it. I use it on my neck all the time. I've used it on my face and it goes right into the skin. There's nothing greasy. And the longer you use it, the more my skin retains hydration. If I go a few weeks and I'm not using it, if I'm out or I didn't take it with me if I was going somewhere, I notice that my skin doesn't feel as supple. So even it retains the moisture and you can tell it's making the skin healthier.
Gosh, I love hearing that, Hillary. And again, especially from you, I'm so respect everything that you're about, your products as well, your knowledge of quality ingredients. So that just really means a lot to me. And when I do hear that it helps people heal skin conditions, I hear all the time about eczema, psoriasis, and that is so wonderful because that was so important to me to make it more of a soothing, healing product. The calendula and the aloe and the shea butter and just ingredients that would really calm the skin. And like I said, the nervous system, we all need a little emotional support too in this day and age.
Yeah. And this is a product that you are a professional body parts model. This is a product that you're using. And that speaks volumes because you are the best advertisement for the product. If people are hiring you because your skin looks amazing, your hands look amazing, and we're not going to do any close ups of mine today, but if you're using this product and you're still working, and that to me, you can't get a better testament than that.
Yeah, I really made it for myself. Primarily, a few people over the years asked me, "Do you use your own product?" And I'm like, "That's why I created it."
Many people
Day
don't.
and night, and several times a day with the hands. But as Hillary said too, you can use it on your face, hands, and body. It's multi-use. It's even formulated for sensitive skin, so you can use under your eyes. It's non-comedogenic. It's just, I like to think of it as like just good nutrition for the food, for the skin. It's like good food, skin
So
food.
let's talk about then. I want to dive right in. I'm so excited by this product, and I want to know what you feel some of the hero ingredients are in the product that you feel set Essential aside that make it different than the competition.
I would say certainly starting with the essential oils, like I said, frankincense, heliochrysum, geranium, and lavender, all of those. I not only love the scent, which again is subtle and not going to compete with your primary perfume if you use one, but yeah, also calm the skin again and regenerate healthy cells and calm inflammation, help fade dark spots, reduce redness. I think Probably there's so many, but MSM, I absolutely love that ingredient, and I'm surprised it's not used in more skincare. It's a sulfur compound, and sulfur is the third most plentiful mineral in our body. The ancient Romans used to soak in sulfuric baths. It was the original fountain of youth. It's essential for the body to produce collagen. So I absolutely love MSM. The raspberry leaf extract is a tightening astringent, which we all love that.
Oh, love
And
that.
I remember when we tested that, when the formulator suggested and put that in there, I did. I like immediately felt something. And I remember my next door neighbor who was also testing with me. She was like, "Is there something that's tightening? My skin feels tighter." So yeah, that's the raspberry leaf extract. I would say the coffee berry, I also love as one of the most potent natural antioxidants. Yeah, I could go on. There's many
Yeah.
that I really love. And I know
There's
that you all know so much about ingredients. So chime in if there's any that you feel are worth mentioning. Hyaluronic acid, that's a favorite that everyone, of course, loves, that plumps the skin and retains a lot of, moisture in the skin.
Reading the ingredient deck, it's like reading a love song to your skin. It's so beautiful. And the fact that aloe is right at the top of the deck, followed by grape and olive oils, the shea butters. And it's nice because you feel the healing power of a shea butter, but it doesn't sit on top of the skin. So the way this was formulated, because I've been involved in product development, as Susan has as well, sometimes when people cut corners or they just dump in whatever shea butter and it's not blended properly in the right stages, it can sit on top. It can be greasy. It can be occlusive. But this gives you the suppleness of a shea butter without the greasy. There's no payoff.
no
It just
grease.
goes right in. And
Yeah.
she's a tough customer. So I was really excited when she contacted me and she was like, "What is this?"
What is this? Yeah, because it's
I'm
true. I am like Hillary, we both love ingredients and we've been around long enough to know most ingredients. We don't know everything, but we do know a lot. So many of whenever I hear shea butter, I often think it's going to be occlusive, it's going to be heavy, and it's going to be tacky because a lot of people don't know how to work with that product. And there is the old expression, just because it's natural doesn't mean it's luxury. And I have to tell you, as someone who worked predominantly in luxury, this absolutely has a luxury feel. This feels like it is a luxury lotion, which is pretty incredible. Your ingredients are also, I will say this, you have some very expensive ingredients in here too. These are not inexpensive ingredients that you have in here,
Yeah, my
especially,
dad's philosophy,
yeah.
he was a restaurateur in New Orleans, and his whole philosophy was to give people quality at an affordable price. So I didn't jack the prices up. I really wanted to keep it at a reasonable price point and offer the high quality. So thank you so much for noticing that and for noticing the finish, because that was intentional as well. Being a primarily hand model, I couldn't be handling products and leaving greasy fingerprints all over what I was holding. So I said, I want something with almost like a matte finish, but that would still be deeply hydrated, give you that dewy, beautiful, hydrated look, but
Right.
not greasy or shiny or sitting on top of the skin like many moisturizers.
I would actually categorize the adjectives I would use for this product for our listeners that maybe aren't watching us as we're doing this. This is definitely a velvet finish. And I would say that it gives you a glow. There's no shimmer, no iridescence, no mica. There's not a shine. There's not an oil. It's not a gloss. It is a glow. So you've got this sort of velvety glow. It almost feels like cashmere gloves, if I could even say that. It just has that really soft, warm, cozy feeling. And at the same time, I could see I'm on the East Coast. This is winter, but also I feel it's going to be rich enough for the winter months here, which are terrible. But also in the summer, I was using this and never once felt like get it off my skin. It's too much, it's too heavy. So somehow you captured the lightness of a body lotion with the efficacy of a cream.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I might have to quote that, Susan. I
Well,
love really, and coming from you, I want that. I want that quote. That's beautiful. And that is exactly what I wanted. And that's exactly what what I worked to with the formulator to create. And you just put it into words. Because I was also, like I said, working bi-coastally. I needed something that would hold up in a New York climate and also a Los Angeles. I live by the beach, Malibu, and yeah, I wanted it to be light, but also deeply hydrating.
yeah. And that's not easy to do, which is why most companies have cream and then they have lotion, then they have an oil if they're more of a luxury brand. But
Yes.
yet you nailed it in one product, which is someone needs to hire you to consult and find out exactly how you did that because that's pretty incredible. Most items are either lotion or heavy cream. And yeah, you nailed it. So
Thank you so much. Again, that that really means a lot to me. I worked really hard at it. My mom at some point went with me to, she was in town. She went with me to meet the formulator and she said, I apologize. I know she's a perfectionist. I was like, well,
it shows because people can go, Hillary and I talk about this all the time. You can go, for most body products, people can just pick them up at a drugstore. Or if they're feeling fancy and special, they'll run into a luxury department store or specialty door. And then you have people that will just purchase at a spa when they're on holiday. But I think being able to seek out something without it being right at your corner store or right on your way to go pick up an outfit or something. When you have to go out of your way to pick up a product, especially a beauty product, it has to be really good because it's not that quick impulse purchase. This is something you actually have to order. You have to take the time to seek it out and find it. So I think when it's something that's that good, you're willing to do it.
thank you. Yeah, it's and people have asked a lot, like, when are you going to be in more stores, whatever. We're primarily in spas and some really lovely high-end spas. The Post Ranch Inn in Big Sur. I don't know if
Oh,
you're familiar with that place, but that
yes.
is like my all-time favorite spa of all. It's just I'm so honored that it's there. But yeah, some really lovely spas. But I have chosen again intentionally just to keep it direct to consumer from my website. People can subscribe, so it's really easy. Once you subscribe, it's just every 1, 2, or 3 months, and you get it at a discount. It's hassle free. So
And
yeah,
what is your website? Just for our listeners, we'll
sure.
post it, but just say it for people listening.
Of course, it's Essential by Adele.
Essential by
Essential
Adele.
with an EL by Adele.
By Adele. Okay. So they can order
Incredible.
direct.
And
Mhm.
also for our audience, there's something really interesting that's happening in the beauty industry. I go to all of the trade shows. I've been in product development for so long. And right now, what you're seeing is we're seeing this big explosion of AI and brands. So you can basically, I saw when the last time I was at a show, there are several companies now. It started a few years ago, but now it's really big, where you can go in there and say, Hi, I'm Susie Q. I want to create my own brand, and this is who it's for. This is what I want it to do, blah, blah, blah. And they just enter it into the AI. They'll come up with your logo, your branding, your messaging, and the formula, and it just Jetson style spits it out. Those are, you could give them an ingredient list like this, but you're not going to get the human being going back to the lab, trying the samples, testing it on their people. So we're at the age of where for a very long time we've had an industry where things were private labeled. You could go into a toll manufacturer and there's a huge library of thousands of different bases. Like here are 50 serums, here are 100 moisturizers, 100 eye creams, 100 body lotions. You can add 1 to 3 ingredients. You can try 1 to 3 formulas, and then it costs you more to test others. Slap your label on it, and it's done. And it's technically yours. And they do have they have advanced over time, so they do have some very good stock bases and stock products. They can be okay, but it's not something that's born from a purposeful, intentional place and handcrafted. This is really handcrafted. It's like what I did with my brand that I created where we met. I went in and I led with this is what I want the consumer's experience to be. And these are the things I think we need in there to get them there. Let's go. Whereas other people will walk in and say, we want to sell it for this. We want a margin of this. What can we put on the label for marketing, what can we put in it to give it that feel? We'll tell them that's what they're feeling, even if that's not what they're feeling. And it's a totally different evolution and DNA of a brand. So having something like this on the market is really special at a time like this.
I love that. I really do. I feel like I put my heart and I say my Sicilian soul into the product. And thank you for recognizing that. And I so recognize that with your products. And as soon as I met you, we met on set. I was doing some hands for Hillary and her beautiful products. And I was just so impressed with your not only knowledge of ingredients, but just the exoticness. Some of the ingredients I've been around the block and I had tested and thought of and all kinds of ingredients, but some of them were so beautiful and exotic.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's always a labor of love. And so
Mhm.
I
I
recognize
felt
that.
that.
I know what it's like, to go
Yeah.
in there and do. And as Susan was saying, to her point, it's worth going the extra mile to get those products. And I think we're going to see consumers, because they're so inundated with social media and everything else, there are new shiny balls every second. So
Mhm.
this is really our effort to bring things to our audience that we know will work, we know will be good for them, and are produced intentionally and really produced with the consumer and the client in mind, rather than, of course, we're all making a living, we all work for a living, so we're not running a nonprofit skincare company, but at the same time we're reasonable and really
Yes.
doing our best to put love into what we bring out of our skincare kitchens, and it shows.
Now,
Yes.
Adele, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that I have such a strong background in marketing. I worked in it for years and actually decades at this point. And I was always sort of, I noticed that sometimes we'd be shooting a whole afternoon with just tons of products that when you look at the ingredients list, it's pretty much the same formula packaged very differently. And and that's all fine to some extent, but I really wanted to just emphasize quality over quantity and to dispel the myth that you absolutely need a different eye cream, hand cream, face cream, body cream, foot cream. I feel like skin is made of the same stuff. And if you're feeding it the right ingredients, it's nourishing no matter if it's nose or toes.
Nose or toes. And I think we've all been on set. This is going to be shocking to some of our listeners, but I think the three of us, with all of our experience being behind the camera and behind the scenes and in front of the camera, in your case, Adele, we've all been on shoots where we know we're shooting a specific product, but they're not using that product on the models. They're using something else entirely. The product that they're promoting and that they're shooting for never makes an appearance on the model, on the skin. They're using other things in the background, which
Yeah.
is crazy. So
That was one of the things I noticed early on too. I've done a lot of celebrity doubling, and I would always pick the brains of these fabulous world-class makeup artists who were doing these starlets like Penelope Cruz and Katy Perry, and excuse me, and ask them, oh, what concealer do you love, or what's your favorite, and what are you using? And oftentimes it was, yeah, something quite different than what was being advertised. But yeah, I got a lot of good tips from them.
I bet. What are some of your favorite tips that you learned from some of the artists when you were?
Well, speaking of concealer, which I just, I've always thought is one of the most important parts of makeup. I remember this lovely makeup artist telling me that she loves Clé de Peau concealer. It's expensive, but it's something that really lasts and looks great on camera. I have since, again, I don't go natural all the time, but I try as best I can. There's a more natural product that I've also been using lately. Gosh, what's it called? I might need to go.
It'll come to you.
Yeah,
It'll come to you. Yeah.
but yeah, it starts with a C. Anyway, yeah. So that the rose water mist that I use all the time, it just gives a nice refresh. And I have actually considered expanding the line with maybe because people have asked for a mister or even a candle. People are interested in the scent. They so love the scent. I'm going through many transitions right now, but I might, when I land a bit more, look into doing more of that. We'll see.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, not just for my daughter and myself, but for everyone, the scent is so incredible that you've created. And I was going to ask where you see this expanding, other
Yeah,
parts of the body or the home or your environment.
I don't really know. I truly have been asked that since the launch, and I guess I've been a little stubborn in that it was multi-use because some people have even asked, well, how about an eye cream? How about it? But I was like, but that defeats the purpose and the message of it. Like this is what so yeah, and quite honestly, I think I'm so much of a creative type person. So the formulating the product, the building the brand and the packaging and writing the copy and all of that was lovely and fabulous. And I really enjoyed that process. Actually running the business part of it has been a little bit of a challenge in that it's just not really my skill set or passion, I should say. I've wondered once in a while, like, maybe if I find the right partner or something, somebody who wants to run with that part of it all, I would certainly consider it. But yeah, right now I've just got many balls up in the air. I'm shooting this documentary. I'm trying to finish this project that I've been working on for many years and all kinds of stuff.
We'd love to hear more about the documentary either now or when it's time. So we'll
Sure.
put that little bug out, and you have some beautiful content on your website. And if people sign up for your mailing list on the website, I never encourage people to sign up for mailing lists, but you send the most heartfelt, incredibly touching emails out to your subscribers. So it's not, you don't get just salesy buy Adele's body cream, body lotion. You really share your life. And even my mother called me and she was all teary one day. And I thought immediately, what's wrong? Is somebody hurt? Has something happened? She said, have you seen Adele's email? And I was like, is she okay? What happened? And she said, oh no, she's fine. But I was just so touched by it. So I'm excited to see what you're creating.
I love your mother. Please, I know I mentioned
Great.
that, but really, yeah, that's my passion. Really, is writing, is storytelling, is yeah, just sharing from the soul, so to speak. I have been writing for many years on my blog here and there, a little less frequently lately, because as I said, I'm just going through many transitions and somehow it's been being documented in this documentary that we've been filming since 2021. And it's capturing this quote unquote midlife crisis, which we're trying to reframe as midlife metamorphosis.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, it's just many big, deep changes happening right now and difficult at times, but essential, I think, for my own growth and evolution. And yeah, and I'm hoping that really my primary intention, of course, with the film as well, is that it's something that is ultimately inspiring and something that is a healing presence in my own life and others. So yeah, that really means a lot to me when I hear that the stories speak to people.
How exciting. The term midlife crisis in application to men is universally accepted and it's a household name. But when it comes to women and having our midlife changes that are not only about menopause, it's so much more. Finally, now people are starting to recognize just that little part of it because we can prove it physically now. Otherwise, the things that we go through during these transitions, whether we have children or we don't have children, it doesn't really matter. I think all human beings, when you get to a certain phase in life, you recalibrate, you take stock, things do change. And we're starting to give ourselves grace as women where we weren't really doing that before. There were a lot of negative labels that were attached to it. How do you see that changing, not only as you're walking through it in your own life, but even in the media? Because we are starting to see older women, and I say anybody over 30, over 40, which we all are, they're being celebrated, but in a very narrow way in the media. It's like in order to be celebrating your age, your hair has to be gray, or you have to be happy all the time and smiling and solving these problems because getting old is horrible. And it's, I feel like we're stumbling as an industry. We're not having a smooth transition into, we want to talk about it. I feel that's a little jaded. I feel like the industry is happy to take our money because our buying power right now, we're more educated. We want to own it. We want to have control over the way that we mature, but they want to sell to us. They don't really want to hear from us as much. I feel that's where we are right now. What are you seeing in the industry? Because you're behind the scenes, you're still actively on set modeling. And how have things changed over the decades? What are you observing?
I think it is changing, but slowly. And I think that the younger generation they're really pushing a lot of the change, which is wonderful. There are more conversations that are happening that where our vulnerability is being celebrated rather than repressed, or rather than, yeah, we all have this pressure to be perfect, or to, midlife is a time of a lot of quote unquote death. It's a lot of endings. It's a lot of transition, and that can be rocky and feel raw. But it's also a time that is so rich with renewal. And sometimes that's a painful path getting there. But, if we're brave and we continue showing up and we continue having these types of conversations and support with one another, I think women have just so been getting me through this time. It's truly, I'm so deeply grateful for, the sisters in my life, who can relate and who are there and there to celebrate not just our wins, but the times that we're like, whoa, things are changing and this is scary. Or, yeah, I'm letting go of a lot of identity, or old roles or relationships or whatever. And yeah, so I think it can be a time that's just so empowering. And it's funny, speaking of the film, I set out to make this sexy and empowering film about aging. And then I started aging and it didn't exactly happen like that. Like, there are many things that happened unexpectedly, and but it's turning out not in the way that I thought, but into a sexy and empowering film about aging, one way or another.
On that same thought, as I'm listening to you answer that question, I think to myself, do you feel that your particular path, because of what you've done for a living, because of how you have presented to the world, because of how you earn your living, do you feel that this journey, as you just said, we're all aging, and it is, we can talk for hours about what a privilege it is, right, to be able to age and to remain healthy. And it is such a gift. But do you think that this has been personally for you a more difficult journey because you are so body aware and aware of how you look and how you're presenting to the world? Has it been harder? Do you feel it's been a harder journey for you coming to a point of acceptance and aging?
Yes, I do think so. In that I have been as objectified as you say, Hillary, for so many
Yeah.
years, down to the toe. Yeah, I've had the microscope on myself as well. And so much of my value has been about my outer shell and what I look like. So yeah, that has been hard. And I also grew up between these two very polarized parents and cultures where, uh, originally, like I said, I'm from New Orleans, this sort of old world Sicilian family in the food and restaurant business. And then my mother, when I was 7, my parents split up. My mother took us to this California commune on a bus called the Mars Hotel with a man named Lightning. I then ended up living this very alternative hippie lifestyle with this feminist mother and this sort of chauvinistic father. So that the messages were so different from what I was getting as to what I should be as a woman. And ultimately, I think I went down the path of more placating the patriarch, my father, his ideas of what I should be. And look, I'm a girl. I love looking a certain way. I love skincare, cosmetics, hair. There's nothing wrong with that either. I don't think that we all need to be natural and to grow it all out long and do nothing. Like, that's fine. If that's what you want to do, beautiful. But please don't, judge anyone else who wants to be girly and enjoy all the things, too. So it's just that, I think, is right there, the message of feminism, which really is we all get to choose, what we how we want to express in life.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point. And Hillary and I have talked about this so much off camera and on camera. Everyone's talking about aging, everyone's talking about menopause, everyone's talking about women getting older. But I feel sometimes we're getting so damn judgy about it. Like people putting down, oh, Pam Anderson, she's now not wearing any makeup. Look at how terrible she looks. Yet when she wore all the makeup, people were like, oh, she looks terrible. She looks so cheap. And it's almost
You
like
can't
you
win.
can't win. I don't have gray hair and I don't plan on ever going gray. Do
Amen.
I think that some women look absolutely incredible with no
Gorgeous.
makeup and gray hair, and to your point, letting it all just be? Yes. But you know what? If I decide to go down in flames, that's my option. That's my choice. So it's
Yeah.
the judging of the aging postmenopausal woman that needs to be discussed more and that drives me absolutely insane.
I
Because, right?
completely agree, Susan. Yeah, and I just have no tolerance for it. And I actually kind of, again, I've been in this sort of a little more of an isolated, reclusive stage lately for the past year or so, and I just have not really been on social media or whatever. But I don't have a respect for it or tolerance, and I just, it's like a boundary. I just take your opinions and just do what you will. Live and let live is my motto. And stay in your own lane. And
Right.
great, if something works for you, beautiful. Celebrate that, but don't tell me how I'm supposed to live my life. And not at a
Right.
certain age. If you want to do that as young kids, great. But I've earned the right at a certain age to like make my own choices. Thank you very much.
And I do think it's funny that sometimes so much of this criticism comes from other women, not necessarily the men. Most men are like, oh, she wants to age gracefully. Great. She wants to look a certain great. You don't really hear, or at least I don't, a lot of men saying, oh, having opinions when they're older. I guess I'm talking about older men or men our own age. They don't seem to have as many opinions about the look thing and all that as they get older. It's the younger ones, let's face it. But women, I found, can be the hardest on each other, critiquing each other so much instead of supporting each other's aging journey and aging process.
Which is really too bad. I think underneath it all, I think that women, we carry a lot more just insecurity. And
Oh,
I'll own it myself. Just, it's hard to navigate this culture and what we're supposed to have. And so it's easy to judge ourselves very harshly. And then if you're not conscious enough, you're projecting that judgment onto everyone else as well, which is not very fair. Yeah,
right.
it really, like I said, I've received so much support from women in this particular phase that I'm going through that has been just, I'm just deeply and internally grateful for it. Because when women come together, we are an incredible force and just an incredible community and a real light for the planet too. Not to sound too woo, but that feminine energy we all need more, I think, right now, more than ever.
I agree.
The enlightened feminine energy, not the critical, bitchy talking about.
Right, right, right.
Yeah, we do. We have, I feel, an intrinsic ability to have empathy and to want to heal each other when we're feeling like we're safe. And so much of that is maybe learning how to make yourself feel safe, not relying on anything or anyone outside of that. But if that's through your own meditations, your own prayers, your own whatever it is for you, when we kind of find a way to sit in our own sense of self, start to become kinder and we can be more open to, I want to say, I guess, our humanity or just our intrinsic sense of the female does tend to be the nurturer, the healing, the calming, and the more we
Mother.
can do it, the better. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I feel like I'm raising teenagers through Susan. So
And you are.
I get to see what she's doing. Yeah, that's clearly flippant and a joke. I'm not there in the first thing in the morning and at night, but
Oh, but you're there, Hillary. You're
little
there.
showy.
Yeah.
I
Well,
respect more and more the older I get. I deeply, I have so much respect for mothers.
I do
And
too. I do too. And you were saying about how for yourself, it's letting go of old roles and old identities. And for those of us that don't have children, sometimes society is a little hard on us. For those of us that do have children, society is a little hard on us. It's like you bump around either which
and
way.
you can't win.
You can't win. But that's been one of the things that is the most liberating is I've gone through a season where I had all of these identities wrapped up in things and I didn't even realizing it. And losing them or letting them go, it can be a very painful, awkward process. And it makes me think of the mothers whose kids first go to kindergarten and then they're going to college and they're changing. And I just think it's such an interesting transition that we do go through changing of roles. And sometimes we don't even realize that we've been defining ourselves by relationships, by jobs, by how the world sees us, by how we see ourselves through the world's eyes. And as we get older, I think, become more aware. That might just be me because I'm walking through all of that path right now. And I sit here and our listeners probably feel like, wow, she says one thing, one podcast, and the next podcast, another one. On one, I'm defiant about I'm aging gracefully and I'm letting this go and I'm doing this. And then the next day I come home from the doctor who tells me I have a barnacle and I'm having a meltdown about something that seems like it's falling apart, or I see a reflection in a car door and I'm like, oh my gosh, things are falling apart. So I think we just have to be graceful, and our audience is very kind to me as I'm going through all of this myself. But it's a journey and we
It's
have to
such
buoy
a
each
journey.
other as we
And
go. Susan's super patient with me. Who knows what she's going to see when she turns on the camera
you
for
know,
the
this, Adele, in case you were wondering how we came up with the name Life Gloss, this is literally what Life Gloss podcast is. You think you're coming on to talk about body products and ingredients and the world of modeling, and then we somehow end the whole podcast talking about women's issues and feminism and aging. And because it's life and it's glossy and it all is relatable to beauty inside and out. So this is a perfect example of why we're called Life Gloss.
I love that. That's my whole, the working title for the film is called Skin and Deep. Okay.
Oh,
So
I
it's,
love that.
yeah, I mean, I'm so with you. I love discussing it all, the inner and the outer shell. Yeah, it's all important, all of our parts.
Right.
You
We're
know?
women. We have a lot to talk about.
We really do. And Hillary was saying too, at this time of life, especially, they call it the change. We are changing on so many levels, physically and otherwise. And that should be celebrated. It is, it's often, I think, scary, and we change for anyone, but it can be so liberating and it can be so empowering. And it's needed. If you don't change, you don't grow, you don't evolve. Yeah,
Right.
it's really
That's right.
beautiful
And
to
I love your whole metamorphosis. I think that is such a positive way to take what is for you personally going through a difficult time to turn that into something positive is just it's so wonderful. And I think you're someone who leads with love, and you can see that in you as a person, and you can see that poured into your product. It really you come from such a really positive place. For you really are a role model for a lot of women. You might not know it, but I think everyone has seen you and they just don't know they've seen you.
right.
Everyone has seen your hands. Everyone has seen every
I'm
part of you. They may not know it, but if you've opened up a magazine in the past 20 odd years, we've all seen you, Adele. But getting to know you and the person behind the curtain has just been wonderful. This has been wonderful.
Oh, that just, again, that just means so much to me. Yeah, I like to say that some parts of me like to be seen, some parts hidden. This whole profession has really been convenient in the sense that I can be on a billboard, but still have my own.
I love that. I love that. Before we wrap up, speaking of this stuff, we have to ask for our listeners that have now gotten to know you in this past hour, can you tell us you don't have to name names if you don't want to, but was there a certain job, or can you tell us something in your vast career of all the shoots you've done, all the work you've done? Is there one that really stands out the most, or one that is your favorite story, or you're the most proud of, or
Yeah.
it just was chaos, or I don't know, give us
Right.
something juicy.
Question. There's a few that come to mind, but today what comes to mind is Christian Louboutin, who we all love. I shot with him several times, but at one point he was at the actual shoot and we did a whole editorial piece on him. And at some point he put me up on his shoulders as I'm wearing his fabulous heels. And we just started shooting with my legs wrapped around him, balancing, and that was a lot of fun.
That's so cool. But
That's
more
so fun.
importantly,
Yes.
Well, we'll have to see if we can find, did those images ever get published?
Yes, they
Okay.
did.
If you can send them to
Yes,
me,
I
we'll put
will.
them in socials. And then also,
ooh,
before we
yes.
let you go, I would love to humbly request that when you are ready to talk a little bit more about the film, about what you've been creating, we would love to have you back. We would love to have you share with us. Dr. Pericone's been coming with us, and he's been teasing and revealing his book that's coming out in January. And we just love to be able to help build the anticipation and support your launch. And I know I personally can't wait to hear more about it.
I
Please
would
do.
absolutely love to. So consider it confirmed. I can't wait. Yes, thank you so much for the lovely invitation. I would absolutely love that.
Wonderful. Thank you. And what we'll do is we're going to put all of the links and all the information so people know how to find you in social media. They'll know how to find you, your shop online. They'll know where to get you. I think maybe we just might have to go up to Big Sur and have some treatments so we can buy them in person.
Oh, I know.
Love
That'd be
those
so
brands.
exciting.
Yes, but
And don't
me,
forget about the code Life Gloss for 25% off because the holidays are right around the corner. And like I said, I only do this 25% off around Black Friday once a year. Enjoy and
thank
stock up.
you. We are
Listeners,
so touched.
listeners, go on Essential by Adele on her website, put a whole bunch in the cart, and under promo code LifeGloss, 25% off.
Exactly.
So
I'm going to
generous.
spell that. I'm going to spell that for people that are driving or not driving, people that are just
Right.
listening to us, that aren't
Right.
watching us on YouTube, that are just listening on Spotify. It's ESENTIELBYADELE.com. So it's essentielbyadele.com. And until then, thank you so much. And as always,
Stay glossy.
Stay glowy. Thank you.
perfect. I'm just going to stop recording and